We'll be letting people in over the next minute or so. John keeps promising that we'll have music here for everybody who's waiting, but you
Well,
don't
actually, I was thinking that Dave would sing
I was just
and maybe dance a little bit. But we're delighted that all of you could join us today. We think we have an important message, so we'll get started here in just a minute. And a reminder to everybody, if you have to leave early, we do record these sessions for rebroadcast later. So if you have to duck out early, you can go either to the Berks Alliance website or to BCTV and find us in the archive there, and along with all probably 50 other presentations that we've made. Fortunately, they're in reverse chronological order, so the most recent ones are a little bit easier to find.
Oh, great. We'll get started. My name is Dave Myers. I'm the director of the Berks Alliance, which is a collaboration of the anchor institutions here in Berks County, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I want to welcome you to this spotlight program on the Ben Franklin Technology Center of Northeastern Pennsylvania. The Ben Franklin's been around doing work in our region for 40 years, over 40 years. It serves 21 different counties. And it's been instrumental in creating jobs in the area, launching businesses, and fostering innovation. And I want to say a quick commercial. They are a very strong and engaged partner in a group called Elevate Berks, which is trying to enhance the support culture for startup businesses and entrepreneurs in Berks County. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John Weidenhammer. Then I'll come back and do some brief other comments, and then we'll get started.
Thanks, Dave. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining this call today. We really appreciate you being part of it. I want to start by thanking Dave, as always, for putting this presentation together. He's the guy that corrals all the resources and gets everything lined up for these important information sessions that we run as the Berks Alliance. And I also want to thank Kimberly and Marissa from the Ben Franklin Technology Partners, who are our presenters today. As Dave said, the Ben Franklin Technology organization has been doing really great work in our area for more than 40 years. And I'm pleased to say, as a Lehigh University graduate, that the Ben Franklin Center is a wholly owned subsidiary of Lehigh. I just learned that this morning. I knew that Lehigh was involved, and I'm pleased to say that that it's a wholly owned subsidiary of Lehigh. Also, I think you're going to learn during the presentation that there's a broad variety of services that the Ben Franklin Center provides. And, they're not only a resource for startups, but a resource for many existing organizations that take advantage of their capability. So again, thanks to everybody for being on the wire, and thanks to our presenters. So Dave, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, John. So I want to quickly cover some ground rules we have for this. We like people to keep their cameras on so we can see we're dealing with live people, that you're able to move and do things. You don't have to eat in front of us, but that's okay, even if you need to do that. But we do ask you to mute your microphone so that you don't hear a lot of background noise. As John mentioned, we record it. We'll send the recording to everybody who registered. We're also going to send the PowerPoint that the team is going to use today out to everybody who registers. We ask you to use the chat function at the bottom of the screen to submit your comments and questions. And when we get through the formal presentation, we'll move on to the chat questions. I'll either call on you or I'll raise some questions, raise your questions as well. So stay engaged, stay involved. Very interesting topic. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kim.
Thank you, Dave. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully, let me know if you can see it. So as Dave said, I am the regional manager for Reading and Berks County for Ben Franklin Technology Partners of Northeast Pennsylvania. As Dave said, and I'm joined here today with Marissa Bishop. Marissa Bishop is our associate manager for client development, and she's going to join us a little further into the presentation and tell you more about our solutions network and all the different ways that we do try to connect many different resources with all of our client companies. So with that, just to give you a little bit of an overview, as Dave said, Ben Franklin Technology Partners has been around for over 40 years. We were developed back in 1983, and it was formed, the Ben Franklin Technology Partners was formed by the Thornburg administration. And the idea and the vision was that if you support your startup technology companies and you support your advanced manufacturers with technological advancements, with technological and business support, you will create and retain higher paying sustainable jobs in Pennsylvania. So that is our overall goal and our mission with everything that we do, whether it's supporting our startup companies or supporting our advanced manufacturing companies. We are one of 4 Ben Franklins. So there is Ben Franklin of Northeast Pennsylvania. Obviously, we cover the Northeast portion of the state. There is a Ben Franklin out in Pittsburgh. And there's another Ben Franklin out in central Pennsylvania that sits on Penn State's campus. And then there's Ben Franklin of Southeast Pennsylvania, which covers the Philadelphia region. All the Ben Franklin Technology Partners are associated with the university because, overall, again, with our vision of creating and retaining jobs in Pennsylvania, we also strive to just form a strong ecosystem and industry and community partnerships and university partnerships as well in developing that ecosystem and supporting that ecosystem. So again, not only do we retain and create and retain jobs, but because we focus on innovation and technology, we also look to reimagine those jobs. So in our mission to do that, we have our 3-pronged approach, except my slide is not advancing as we speak. Oh, there we go. So we really have a 3-pronged approach to our mission. And again, that first being focusing on supporting business and technology innovation with startup technology companies. The second part of that 3-pronged approach, as John alluded to, is we also work with established manufacturers. And when we work with established manufacturers, we look to support them with innovation. And again, innovation, technology, digital transformation. There's so much today, we all I grew up with, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I feel safe to say today, I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore because there is so much technology out there that is applied to everything that we all do. And of course, to our manufacturing processes. So not only with manufacturing do we, we support technology because it not only helps to sustain their commercial success, but it also helps to increase growth, increase their competitive advantage for our manufacturing community. So again, with that, we also strive to focus on and partner with community initiatives. Our whole mission was to bring industry and community together. When we work with manufacturers, we work with a university partner, and we will also bring in an industry partner with subject matter expertise to get those projects done, to get those technology-driven projects accomplished. When we work with our startup companies, we again bring in business resources, support for seed investments, and just overall mentorship, and again, bringing industry and community together wherever we can. Our overall goal, and I know we always say we are connectors. That is truly our goal, is to be the connector in informing and really, supporting this whole ecosystem with innovation and technology. Forming those community partnerships, we really look to just create synergy and create collaborative opportunities where and when possible. An idea of something that we do from a community perspective is we have something called our Aspiring Innovators program. And that is an internship program that we've started. I think this might be our 3rd year doing it, where we, so Northeast Pennsylvania, Ben Franklin, we cover 21 counties. My specific region, as I've mentioned, is Reading and Berks County. I'm the regional manager for that. We have a regional manager up in Pocono Northeast. We have a regional manager in the Upper Susquehanna territory. We have 2 regional managers in our Lehigh Valley. Our office sits in the Lehigh Valley, as John alluded to. We are supported by Lehigh University. So we sit on Lehigh University's campus. And within our building, we also have an incubator. So we have a Lehigh Valley manager who manages the incubator tenants. And then we have another Lehigh Valley manager who really manages any of the companies not in that incubator, whether it be manufacturing or startup companies. And our incubator can house about 40 different startup companies with wet lab space, which I can talk about that more as well. But we are funded by the state. We are a nonprofit organization. All 4 Ben Franklins are funded the same, but we all work just a little bit differently in our approach. And that is the whole idea between having 4 regional Ben Franklins is that we can all cater to our regions. And again, I started to talk about our Aspiring Innovators program. That is something we offer. We offer 5 paid internships every summer to students. We try to place them in our startup technology companies, but we have also placed some of these interns at our established manufacturers. We try to make it a job opportunity that's maybe technological in nature within that manufacturing company. And the Aspiring Innovators program is geared for women students and students of color. So kind of focusing on that underrepresented market or underrepresented group, and just creating career pathways for those groups as well. As I've mentioned, we are Ben Franklin of Northeast Pennsylvania. You can see here, these are the 21 counties that we cover. And again, the whole idea is that, being a decentralized organization allows us to really focus on the initiatives and meeting the needs of our specific region. We support more manufacturing than you can imagine the Ben Franklin of Southeast Pennsylvania does, being in the Philadelphia region. Given our footprint and given the amount of manufacturing that we have here in the Northeast, we do a lot with our manufacturing projects, more so than the Philadelphia Ben Franklin. So that's just one of the many reasons why we are this decentralized with 4 Ben Franklins, and having that regional focus allows us to focus on specific initiatives within each of our areas. So I've started to say, one of the 3 prongs of our overall mission is to support early stage companies, early stage technology companies. Some of the things, unfortunately, that we don't support are consumer products, small businesses like restaurants or retail. We do focus on startup technology companies. The things that we have to have in place for us to fund or to provide funding to these companies is, it obviously has to be within our 21 county region. They have to be located in that region. There has to be at least 1 person that is full-time committed to the company. They have to have something proprietary in nature that they are working on, and they have to have some sort of product or prototype. It doesn't have to be completely finished, but a beta version or some kind of product or prototype more past the idea stage is what we like to see. And they have to have some founder funding. It doesn't have to be a lot, but they have to have a little bit of skin in the game for us to consider taking them into our portfolio and providing funding. And I say that because, we, as I said earlier, we look to be that connector for our companies. For startup companies, when I meet with a startup company, I might have, met them at the Penn State Launchbox Idea Test Lab. Sometimes I hear about them from the Opaque Institute at Alvernia. So as Dave said, we have in Berks County, we have this Elevate Berks, and it is really a hub for entrepreneurship services. And with that, we meet companies that I might meet a company and say, well, you might not be quite ready for Ben Franklin, but let me introduce you to the Berks Launchbox, or let me introduce you to the support services the Opaque Institute offers at Alvernia. And we all work together to really mentor these companies and get them to their next steps. When we do meet with a company and I do say, okay, I think you're ready to come in and present to our group, to our portfolio group, we look to provide an investment or funding of up to $100,000 is our typical funding amount. But a company can come back, a typical overall loan or funding that we put into company is about $300,000. So companies can come back 2 or 3 times. Once a company is in our portfolio, they stay in our portfolio because, again, we are always looking to connect them, to mentor them, to maintain those relationships and help them get to those next steps. If they've been funded by us and then they are ready to go on to a larger capital raise, we will work with them to get their pitch deck ready. We will introduce them to our investor network, which we have a broad network of people that we are always in connection with and have relationships with. And we will also even look at the term sheets and guide them as to where we think they should go next, for whether, do they need more funding? What should it look like? What would be the best for them? When we provide our loan to them, we also say, here's where we think you should use this money. Sometimes they don't know that. If I'm working with a company and I think, well, I don't know if you're quite ready to come in and present to Ben Franklin, again, it's our job to mentor that company and connect them. As Marissa will get into later, we have a network of subject matter experts, service providers, industry experts, who we can connect for, whether it be they need help with their IP, they need help developing their business plan, they need help with financial modeling or CFO assistance. These are all things we try to do as we bring companies into our portfolio. And I work with a company even prior to getting them qualified into the Ben Franklin portfolio, as we like to say, because the goal is to get them there. I will say, when a company is funded by Ben Franklin, it really does give them a well-respected endorsement. If they go on for additional funding or go on to a larger capital raise to the angel networks, or in whatever, however they begin to grow, to have a Ben Franklin funding and to have Ben Franklin as part of their portfolio truly is a validation, kind of a stamp of approval. As much as we know we are taking on a risk by looking at these and providing funding to these early stage companies, we do scrutinize them. And we also, as I've said, we really make sure they're ready for our funding. And we will do what we can to get them ready if they're not quite there yet. So that's just some of the things that we do when it comes to our early stage companies and how we support entrepreneurship and innovation. Just to give you an example of a company in Berks County, I don't know, some of you have, did someone have a question? No, maybe. Catapala VR is a company that is in Berks County. I think I met Dr. Corinne McLean. She's the founder maybe a year and a half ago, maybe a little longer than that. She presented to Ben Franklin last April, so it's been just about a year. We provided funding for her. She has a product where she is a behavioral health behavioral therapist, and she ran her own behavioral services organization for several years. And she just said she was always looking for, more effective ways to reach her clients, her patients. She focuses on the neurodiverse population, people with autism, and she found, and it really began with gaming, using gaming technology, and she has since developed virtual reality modules that provide a very immersive experience, and she has found it to be a very effective way to educate and help this population, the autistic population, the neurodivergent population, reach more independent living goals and needs. And so she's built an entire platform, and it is really targeted for educators and therapists. And to this day, almost a year later, she has several customers, schools, and therapy organizations. She actually has been asked by the federal prison system. They have approached her because they can see how using these virtual reality modules, which now she has a full library of, to help prisoners re-enter into the society. So she's seeing how her product can really scale and meet new markets. So that's just one idea and one example of a company in Berks County. Again, I met Dr. McLean. I believe she had just finished a customer discovery lab with the Penn State Berks Launchbox. So again, we have this ecosystem within Northeast Pennsylvania, but really within Berks County, there is a strong and robust entrepreneurial support system. I'm having trouble with oh, there we go. Sorry about that. My slides are not being so cooperative. As I have mentioned, our building in Bethlehem is an incubator. We house up to 40 different startup companies. We do have wet lab space. Our building itself was at one time a Bethlehem Steel building. It then was a Lehigh University building, and then we, of course, purchased it from there. But we are part of, and we support a 14-member incubator network throughout northeastern Pennsylvania. So there are several incubators up in the Pocono Northeast region and Wilkes-Barre and Scranton in that area. We are one of the largest incubator networks in the US. Well, our incubator is one of the largest in the US. And I've also mentioned, one of the incubators within this network that we support is Alvernia University's OPAIC Institute, also obviously right in Berks County. Alvernia's OPAIC Institute just offers so many different services for, again, startup companies, whether it's connection, whether it's using their fellows to help with financial modeling, working on their pitch, customer discovery. They've been a great resource, and again, one that we sort of toggle back and forth with and help each other and send companies whichever ways, wherever their needs are and what's going to suit that company best at that time. So that's been a great resource and a great partnership for both Ben Franklin and the OPAIC Institute. One of our regional managers, Josh Bradley, he manages the entire incubator network, and he does have, I think, quarterly meetings that are really focused on best practices and collaborating. What is this incubator doing that's working? What can I be doing better? Or how can we collaborate and offer more support, again, through our entire Northeast Pennsylvania by accessing this network. So that's just another area that we, again, have support and different services and meet different needs for entrepreneurs. So with that, I've talked about how we can connect our companies with subject matter experts and service providers and the many different ways that we try to help our companies. So with that, I'm going to introduce Marissa Bishop. As I said, she is our client manager, or our manager for client development. And Marissa, I'll let you take it from here to introduce yourself and tell us more about the Solutions Network.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thanks everyone for your time this afternoon. As Kimberly said, my name is Marissa Bishop, and I'm our Associate Manager for Client Development here at Ben Franklin. And I'm also an Alvernia University graduate. I was among the first group of students to live in downtown Reading as part of Alvernia's College Town Initiative. And I also was a graduate assistant at the OPAIC Institute. So I'm very fond of the Reading and Berks area. Sweet spot for them. So my main role here at Ben Franklin is I oversee our internal network of consultants and service providers. We call this our Solutions Network. And our Solutions Network is made up of vetted professionals from a wide range of industries. We have about 500 people in there at the moment. And we connect the companies in our portfolio to those in our network when there's a need for services. So anything you can think of, we probably have someone in there to fulfill those needs. Another part of my role here is I oversee our Spark mentorship program. So this is a formalized mentorship program with training at the beginning for the mentor and the mentees to set expectations. It's a 16-week-long mentorship program with 14 mentors for about 9 clients. So some companies have more than one mentor depending on their preference. And it's a formalized mentorship program for companies that are a bit further along. So they're usually generating revenue, they have some time in, and they're looking for help in specific areas that the mentor has experience in. So formalized mentorship program to really help drive revenue for companies that are a little bit further along. And something else that I had here at Ben Franklin is our Ignite Innovation webinar series. So we have about 6 of these a year, and they are webinars designed specifically for the companies in our portfolio. So, and for needs of specific areas that companies are struggling with, we'll bring in an expert from our Solutions Network to come in and speak to our companies. And it's really an area for them to answer questions and get feedback and move their business further along. And then lastly, one of the other ways that we support our companies is through Tiger Sessions. So these are called Tiger Sessions because the first time we had one 40 years ago, someone said he felt like he was in a cage of tigers and the name just stuck around. They are 3-hour sessions, and the company will present a PowerPoint to 4 seasoned professionals, a panel of 4 professionals. So those who have been there, done that, they usually have had successful exits. And it's really just an opportunity for the company owners to get feedback in a couple areas of their choosing. So really just companies absorb as much knowledge as they can out of the experience. And We have about 3 of these a year, just depending on company needs.
Thank you. Thanks, Brisa. So as I said earlier, we have this three-pronged approach to our mission, and in addition to supporting our startup technology companies, we work with established manufacturers. And as John had alluded to earlier, this is a huge part of what we do here at Ben Franklin. Again, part of supporting our manufacturing is, again, creating, retaining, and reimagining jobs with digital transformation and all that's out there today. So when we work with our established manufacturers, instead of a loan, which is how we work with our startup companies, we provide a grant. As I said earlier, we are a nonprofit. We're funded by the state. So we provide a grant to manufacturing that is really geared towards continuous improvement. Anything to, again, technological applications, anything that's going to help the company move, not just perform better, faster, and cheaper, but to really create continuous improvement, better efficiencies, optimization. You can see just from this list alone, we see a lot of facility plan layout, just, making sure you're at capacity and optimization of space utilization, efficiencies with new product design, new product and processes, to create efficiencies and just overall continuous improvement. Today, reducing your carbon footprint is something everyone needs to do, wants to do. We can support, projects that will help to do that, whether it's energy efficiencies, energy assessments is something we can help support. Again, improving that whole, ESG, or environmental, social, and governance, and meeting those needs that we all see are so important today. Digital transformation is just what is happening today. Automation, robotics, all the things that are available to help these companies run more efficiently, and again, just continuous improvement. So as I said, we provide a grant to our manufacturers. Any one project is up to $25,000 that we can provide towards a project. It requires a cash match from the company. So if we provide $25,000, the company has to provide another $25,000. We do work with a university resource when we work with our manufacturers. So typically in Reading and Berks County, we've been working with Alvernia University. And the goal is, as I said earlier, those community initiatives, the goal is to bring, again, industry and community together. And by working with our university partners, the goal is to really have student experiential learning as part of these projects. And we're starting to do more of that, or looking to do more of that with Alvernia University, and tie in there's other colleges and universities in Berks County that we hope to do this with as well. When we work with a university resource, one thing I just started to mention, we worked with Alvernia. They have something called Project 6. And, when it comes to the manufacturers, the reason we bring in a university resource and the reason we bring in an industry resource is because as much as these projects are at the top of the list, they don't always get done. You have your same people that are running your daily operations who are also the same people who are going to be looking at the ERP system, implementing the ERP system, wondering how they're going to train their employees on the new ERP system, or what else should we be doing from a digital standpoint, and a technology standpoint. As intentions are good, but at the end of the day, daily operations continue. So project number 6 is those first 5 projects get done, and that 6th project needs to get done, but again, how are we going to do it? So Alvernia has faculty and students who, will be focusing on whether it's engineering, different aspects of manufacturing that we will be working with them on to, again, bring these projects to fruition and hopefully have some student experiential learning where possible and some hands-on experience. At the end of the day, the project has to get done. We have deliverables that we have to meet, because that's, the grant is going towards this project. So we also can bring in, if the faculty and a university is not able to provide that subject matter expertise, then we also bring in industry resources. Some of the things Marissa just talked about, the people and the resources within our solutions network. Some of them are just, focus on operational excellence within manufacturing, and we will work with them to, again, bring these projects to fruition. And as I said, our grant can cover up to 50% of a project. A typical tranche or grant is 25,000, but overall, we can support a company with a manufacturing company with up to $50,000 over, 1, 2, or even 3 projects over time. As you can imagine, in Berks County, there are so many manufacturers, so many that we have supported over the years. East Penn Manufacturing, Custom Processing Services, which I'm sure you're all aware of. And, we always say here at Ben Franklin, the startup technology companies that we're supporting today are either making the things your manufacturers are going to need, or they are going to become your manufacturers in time. And Custom Processing Services started as an early startup company in the Ben Franklin Technology Partners portfolio many, many years ago. I think it was early 2000s. And as you know, they have over 100 employees. So we have supported Custom Processing Services as a startup company over the years. We've also supported them with some manufacturing projects over the years. So that is the goal, creating this entire ecosystem. There's another company you might not be aware of. It's called Life Air Systems. Life Air Systems is a company that is located, they're initially located in the Lehigh Valley, but they are a startup company, and they have just opened their first manufacturing facility in Shoemakersville. So now they are part of our Berks County family as well. And Life Air is doing some amazing work. The founder is Dr. Katie Werlow, and she's created air purification systems. She worked in IVF facilities for years and found and realized that it was the pathogens in the air that were affecting the life and sustainability of the embryos. Things that we can't control, literally the dust outside, the exhaust from the cars outside. So she's created air purification systems that are now in IVF facilities throughout the country. They are also in hospitals. St. Luke's here in the Lehigh Valley. I think a few of their locations now have Life Air system. The Lehigh Valley International Airport has installed the Life Air purification system. So she is, at this point, international. And again, startup technology company within our portfolio in the last 6 years or so as a startup. And as I mentioned, she is now manufacturing her own patented technology in her new Shoemakersville facility. So that is just another story of our sort of continuum and support of this ecosystem that we always look to support and to connect. And as I have said several times, we are all about connection. So to give you an idea of, what kind of impact do we really have? Does all this have? As I said, we are funded by the state. So at the end of the day, we have to realize our impact, report that impact to the state to let them know where is our funding going and how is it helping to drive the economy. So last year in 2023, overall, not just in, within the Northeast Ben Franklin, this is not all of Ben Franklin technology, this is just the Ben Franklin Northeast numbers. So we created 363, we assisted 363 companies. We created 394 jobs. We retained 4,749 jobs. We launched 9 new companies. And we had 65 product and processes developed that we helped to support as well. That's throughout our 21 counties. In Berks County alone, in the greater Reading and Berks County area, we created 104 new jobs. We retained 1,540 jobs, and we supported 8 new product and process developments within Berks County. So again, we are all about fostering growth, success, innovation. And again, at the end of the day, for us, by supporting the growth and innovation and economic development, we are not only creating and retaining, but really reimagining the jobs in Pennsylvania. And that is our overall goal. And we do that with our 3-pronged approach. So with that, that is really all I have to say to all of you today. As I said, here's my information as well as Marissa's contact information. We do have, coming up in April 25th, we have something called Venture Idol. Some of you might be aware of it. We used to have 2 different larger events a year. And as you can imagine with COVID, that sort of changed things. So we are doing one larger combined event, networking event this year. It's called Venture Idol. It's on April 25th. It does take place here in Bethlehem at our Lehigh University campus location. And what it is, there's networking, there's some awards for different client companies within our portfolio, but it is also a pitch competition. There will be 4 different companies pitching. There will be a panel of judges to just give feedback to those companies. And it'll be a winner takes all. We do provide prizes. I think it's a $15,000 prize. There'll be a winner takes all, and then there'll be one, I think it's an audience choice. Am I right, Marissa? Audience choice picks one winner as well for another smaller prize. So 4 different companies pitch. It's a great opportunity we do invite students, to attend. It's a great opportunity for them to see pitches and learn more about entrepreneurship as well. And it's a great networking event. There's a cocktail reception, and it's just a fun night. So I'll gladly share that link as well. I know we're starting to fill up with tickets, but I can put that link in the chat when we're done. And I'm just happy to take any questions if there are any.
There are several. I'm going to turn the show over to Jeremy Zaborowski at some point because he's my question engineer. But let me start with a couple that came to my mind. What would you say are the strengths of the Northeast Pennsylvania area, the strengths of Reading? Is it a particular sector of business? Is it a size of business? Is it certain types of technology? What do you think are our strengths? What are our assets that we should take advantage of?
Well, again, I mean, within the Berks County, I mean, the amount of manufacturing that we have and how that impacts everything that we do. I don't know if there's any one specific area. I mean, as you can imagine with our startup technology companies, we are seeing everything AI. That is the hot topic. Everything that comes to us for a presentation is all about AI, application development. But we do see, one thing I didn't mention, I mentioned that we can't support more consumer-based product companies. We mostly focus on, again, technology. But when I say technology, that's a pretty broad term. We see life science companies, we see medical device companies, we see pharmaceutical companies, healthcare, again, engineering applications, things that your manufacturers are going to need these products that are being developed by these startup companies today. We have a company called Muscle Polymers in our incubator here in Bethlehem that is using literally the glue from the mussels in the ocean and creating all kinds of applications and technology, whether it be for the dental space, the government space, and naval space, a lot of different applications. So we do see an array of products and things. So I don't think I really answered your question, Dave, but I don't know if there's any one specific is I guess my answer.
What would you say are, just recently your most successful investments, most successful things you've done?
Gosh, there's been a lot. I mean, you've
That's
probably
good.
all heard of OraSure. OraSure is a company that started in our incubator. They now are out, they're in the medical device space, but they do a lot of testing. And they, during COVID, were able to get one of the shots. Why can't I think of what I'm trying to say? But, for helping with COVID. So they were able to get that out there quickly. But there are, gosh, a lot of different companies who are more success stories. More recently, I mean, I look at someone like a Cat Apollo and like a Life Air, they are making a difference and they have made great strides in a short amount of time. So I would say that really.
Jeremy, I am going to call on you to ask a couple of your questions here because I think they're important. I'll follow up. I have a couple that flow out of that.
Sure. So one of my questions, and appreciate Kimberly the presentation today, but something that I've always struggled to figure out is in the venture capital sphere, from what I understand, maybe this has changed with COVID, once you get to kind of the VC stage of capital where you're getting a lot of equity positions in exchange for, you know, some high risk, potential high returns, those VC firms typically want you to locate within close proximity to them. So if they're in Cupertino, if they're in Austin or Boston, Chicago, they want you to relocate the firm at that stage. So is that still the case in COVID? And if it is, how does Ben Franklin try to combat that and keep them in Pennsylvania and in their roots?
I think that has changed with COVID. We've seen more companies. We have some music technology companies, entertainment space companies that are creating technologies that you would think would have to be out in LA and in New York, and they're in Wilkes-Barre and in Scranton and here in Bethlehem. So I think that has changed. I know the investor, the way investing works and the VC network in California, from what I've heard, is different on the West Coast than the East Coast. And you know, that's something, listen, if at some point a company is going to move, you can't always control that. But we, you know, when we put a loan out, one thing, I think it was on my slide, but I didn't necessarily say it, is when we provide a loan, we provide a loan with warrants. And that at least gives us the opportunity, depending on where the company is, those warrants have a 10-year expiration. They have a 10-year lifetime and they expire. So when we see that they're coming due, we will look to see where the company is. If it's doing well, we might exercise those warrants in some way. We might do a cashless exercise. If the company is not doing well, it kind of gives us an option to at least maybe get our initial funding back, our initial investment back. But it more so works in favor of giving us a small equity stake if we choose to exercise those warrants at some time. So that kind of protects us, if you want to say that. But I think it has changed with COVID. You know, more and more companies can stay just about anywhere and get what they need to done.
You mentioned, and I'll come back to you in a second, Jeremy, but you mentioned Life Air as a innovative product in the region.
Mm-hmm.
How important, how much effort does it take to get local businesses interested in using that material? How do you create that sort of supply chain, that sort of integration of the business into the local community?
You mean from a manufacturing standpoint, or
Yeah.
just for,
Probably both.
yeah. And it, you know, when we meet with companies early on, you know, the biggest thing for us is get some trial customers, get some customer feedback. That is number one, because your product will change 16 times. There'll be several iterations of your product based on what you're going to hear from those trial customers and those trial users. So that's always key. When it comes to manufacturing, it's you know, a learning process. Dr. Katie Werlo, she's a scientist, and she's got a great team now. She found space. I mean, it's cheaper here for her to run it here and have that control of her own. She still has parts of it being manufactured elsewhere. She's not just moving it all at once. And as you can imagine, with her technology, she needs certain things, climate controlled spaces and things that she's, you know, just working on. She truly bought an empty, or I don't know if she might even be leasing it, but it was an empty space, which is great because they can do what they need to in it, but it does take time. And connecting those, you know, finding those resources. But that is also where having the different partnerships, whether it's the universities, and the connections that we have with our solutions network to help put those channels in place. That's a big one. And Lehigh University, I know, has been very instrumental in helping her as well. So
it seems to me supply chains and logistics could be important factors. Do you do any work with that? Is that something you provide help with?
We don't specifically provide help. If we know of industry experts who've sort of been there, done that, we can connect people. We can't always, we're not experts in that area, nor do we necessarily help with that area. Our funding can help support if they're going to do something with their supply chain or their distribution and, you know, something of that nature. Our funding can help support that, or bring in those consultants and those, again, expertise to get that project done. We don't specifically have that expertise.
Mhm.
But I will say, you know, within that solutions network that Marissa spoke about, you know, one of the beauties of it, if you want to say that, is so many, I mean, there's over 700, you know, different contacts in this solutions network. And most people are more than willing to share their time and expertise. We've said to many times, hey, Dave, you worked in supply chain and, I don't know, manufacturing something. And hey, we have a new company making this new product. Would you mind spending some time with them? Most of the
Mhm.
time, people are more than willing to share their knowledge and their expertise. Sometimes there's, opportunities for equity and different things. You never know, but that's where that connection and those partnerships play key roles for our companies. And our goal is, again, just providing the many different resources, as you can imagine, especially with the startup companies, the many different restraints and needs that they have. So
So identifying resources and that whole importance of collaboration is really significant.
exactly, yes, very much so.
Jeremy, you had a question I'm going to expand on a little bit, but I'll let you ask it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did ask a pretty specific question, but it's really covering a broader topic, and that's the question of, as a quasi-government entity, and the Industrial Development Authority always struggles with this ourselves. How do you manage the need for efficiency and being able to be responsive to businesses' needs without triggering any of the administrative requirements that sometimes are necessary with a public entity? Whether it's compliance and bidding or how you're going about it or discrimination clauses, just all of these things that are very appropriate, but can also slow down and complicate the process for an entrepreneur that might not even have an HR department to know how to do that.
Yeah, and again, that's where we try to guide them. And if we do have a lot of, we're funded by the state, so we have a lot of government connections, relations. Again, people who've been there, done that, know that space, and try wherever possible to reach out to our network to help our companies and work with them in whatever way we can possibly help them. But yeah, there are times things are going to get stuck and hiccups and with hemp, I mean, hemp is all the rage in Pennsylvania right now, but there's a lot of different clauses and regulations that come with that. So we learn as we go, as well as different things come up. We try to get involved, from a community standpoint as well, so we understand the needs more and can help our companies as those needs arise.
But do the prevailing wage requirements, do the domestic steel requirements, do some of those other requirements affect your decisions about where to spend your money?
We not necessarily. I mean, like, right now the semiconductor space and, all that has been happening with that and these hubs that have been created. It can kind of drive. We might see more. I will say this, we will see more companies sometimes come up in those spaces because that's what's happening, at the moment. It doesn't necessarily drive. I mean, we have our stipulations that I mentioned for, startup companies, the things that we need to see a full-time person, some kind of, proprietary product or process, all those things. When it comes to the manufacturing, we cannot pay for, our funding cannot pay for real estate or property, and it cannot pay for the equipment. So we stay in our lane, so to speak. We have our stipulations, and then from there, it's how can we help these companies? And depending on, like I said, right now, AI is everything and anything, and hemp is also everything and anything. So you kind of see things come in as whatever's the hot topic, if you want to say that.
Talk a little bit more about that. How has AI affected things? How has virtual reality affected things? How has hemp affected everything? And is it significant in our region?
Yeah, yes, I think it is. Hemp, is going to change a lot of things that we do from an environmental standpoint. We've supported companies that are making construction materials out of sustainable products that are going to make houses healthier, cleaner, breathe easier, breathe better, healthier families. Will it be more expensive materials to build that house? Most likely, yes, but in the long run, I know if you told me when my kids were little that I can build you a house and your baby's going to breathe easier and cleaner and better, I would have said sold. So anything with, environmental, we're going to be able to create plastics with hemp. and make everything more out of sustainable products. And there was a fine line there for a while between the cannabis and hemp and, you know, all that. So obviously we cannot support anything in the cannabis industry, but hemp,
Right.
and we're seeing all different applications for hemp.
Right.
In different, you know, whether it's agribusiness, construction, just all different ways. And then AI, I mean, we just had someone come in, you know, that was focused on the entertainment space, but she actually won an NSF grant because she was developing technology around hearing. So it fell under National Science Foundation. I mean, and it was also using AI. So, I mean, AI is just, you know, it's changing the world. And I know we're all seeing it happen. And yes, there's going to be pros and cons to it, but it is pretty amazing what it can do. I
Are
would
you,
say.
are you seeing it as having a significant impact on what's happening in this region? I mean, I think people think all that big innovative technology is happening in other places, but are we seeing it here? Is it really happening here?
Yes, I mean, we see it. I mean, Marissa, would you agree with that? I mean, I feel like every new company that has presented to us of lately, has some kind of AI component in their technology. You know, and then there's different ways of applying that AI, but yes, we've seen AI-driven technology in many different products and, you know, more application-driven, maybe not, obviously, maybe not so much a medical device right now, but we're in the application space, creating apps and engineering products.
Could you talk a little bit more about the Aspiring Innovators Program and what's the focus of it? How does that work?
Yeah, so the Aspiring Innovators Program is a paid internship program. We have 5. So as I said, there's 4 other people like me at Ben Franklin of Northeast Pennsylvania. So within our 5 territories, my territory is Reading and Berks, I was able to offer a paid internship. One paid internship. It's a $5,000 grant that we provide. We pay the company, and then the company pays the intern. So that's a pretty good. I know my kids don't always find paid student internships. And it's geared again towards women and students of color. So focusing on the underrepresented groups. And we reach out to different companies. We kind of sit down as a team here and say, which companies within each region might have something they can offer, you know, a job in some way. And then they make the job description. They, you know, fill out, you know, some paperwork and give me a job description. And then I send that job description to, like I sent it to Penn State, Alvernia, Kutztown, Albright. I just put it out there to the different colleges, and then it's up to the students to send in a resume. We leave it to the companies themselves to do the interviews and make sure, you know, I kind of work with them. Obviously, we want to get this all in place by a certain time because students start to make their plans. You know, by February, March, they're trying to line up their summer plans, if not even before that. And then it's really a contract between us and the company, and we send that funding to the company to then pay the intern. So right now we have 5. Our goal is to do, whether it's through our funding, I know our Chief Marketing Officer is always looking for additional grants that we can maybe apply to use for this program, and we hope to double it. We hope to be able to offer 10 Aspiring Innovator internship opportunities. You know, we're always looking to see if we can do more than those 5, but we try to do 5, focusing on the different regions within our 21 counties.
You had mentioned about incubator space, and I think you mentioned that there's a space at Alvernia. I think they're actually in the process of trying to develop that space, but is there enough incubator space and of the right types in the region in Berks County?
Well, that is always a good question. I know if you ask our CEO, Angelo, he will say, you know, here at our Bethlehem office, we have more office space than we need. We could use more lab space. And I think more lab space is what's really needed. You know, technology companies today, since COVID, they don't sit in an office. They don't need to. So we have open office space. And if we could convert that to more lab space, we would. Incubators are not money makers. They are just facilitators, you know, and facilitate and again, create those synergies and add to that ecosystem. It is not a way to make money.
Mhm.
It might be the opposite, in fact, but you're offering less expensive space, hopefully lab space when possible, to incubate these companies that are, again, creating these products and these things that we're going to need in our future. There is talk of a new incubator in Reading. Rodney Ridley is a big driver of that. And if that should happen, and I'm on that committee as well, if that should happen, I know it's going to be focused on life sciences. Life science is really the goal. So it would be, I believe, a lot of lab space that we would want in there. So
Yeah, there's in that whole area, the life science thing between Penn State Berks, Alvernia, Albright, and the Drexel Medical School, there's some real potential there for growing
yes,
these types
there's
of
a lot.
things.
Yes, there's a lot of healthcare systems within the Reading and Berks County area. So we'd like to help to support that. And I think an incubator could be supported that would focus on that area, on the life sciences.
I feel bad, Marissa. I think I should ask you a question, but feel free to just make comments here.
Great.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, Kimberly's doing a great job answering.
Is there anything you want to say, add to what Kim's been saying?
No, I just echo that we invest, but really our value is the connections that we can make with the professionals in our network. We're just always connecting people. That's really what I'll echo what Kimberly's been saying.
What have you personally found as being the most interesting or most challenging thing you had to do in this new job in the last 6 months?
I really enjoy our Tiger sessions. We've had 2 since I've been here, so just really seeing the feedback that our companies walk away with has been really meaningful.
Yeah, talk about that again, just really briefly, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so it's a panel of 4 professionals, people who have a lot of business experience, and our companies come in and they pitch to the panel of professionals, and then they get a lot of feedback. So sometimes they'll go into the session, they won't even get to the presentation because they're just it's just dialogue, it's back and forth of really just steering them in different directions.
How can people become engaged in that, both as a potential speaker or panelist and business entity?
Yeah, so we're always looking for people to put great people to put in our network. There's a vetting process, so you'll have a meeting with me. I'll look at your background and your work experience, and I'll add you to our network. And then you can participate in our Tiger sessions. You can participate as a business reviewer, so part of our due diligence process before we put funds into a company. We'll have a few people outside the building here, more eyeballs looking at the proposal, looking at the business plan, the financials. And then they answer about a 12 question questionnaire, basically supporting the investment decision or not, and then offering coaching to the companies. So we're always looking for reviewers, Tigers, we're looking for presenters for our Ignite Innovation webinar series, and then mentors for our companies for our 16-week program. So if you are interested, my email is at the end of that presentation. I would love to connect with you, get you plugged into our network, especially in the Berks County area. We have a lot of individuals here in the Lehigh area, but to have some more people out there by Kimberly would be great.
Yeah. However we can grow Berks County, we're going to do it.
That's right. That's right.
One more quick question, and then we'll sort of wrap this up. But talk about the Venture Idol program again. Explain when it is, who can participate in it.
Yep. There's a link on our website. Anyone can. It's open to the public. I know we might be reaching capacity, so I know there's tickets available. I think it's $40 for people to attend. And so we will have 4 companies pitch. Actually, Catapalo is one of them, who I spoke about earlier. We have 4 companies pitch. There is a panel of judges, some of the people that Marissa spoke about through our Solutions Network. They will give feedback. The companies have 5 minutes to present. They'll have a few minutes for feedback. They don't share financials. It's not an investor session. It's just a pitch for the public. At the end of those 4 presentations, everybody votes. Believe it or not, as much as we are Ben Franklin Technology Partners, people seem to love these paper dollars that we hand out. And everybody gets their Ben bucks, and you drop them into boxes at the end of the night, and we find out who the winners are based on who voted. So the audience votes. This was a take on American Idol when it first came out, and Shark Tank when all those shows first came out.
Right.
So audience votes, winner takes all, but there is also the audience favorite gets a small financial award as well. So,
Good.
but it's a great networking event. It's 5 to 8. There's open cocktails and food and lots of networking and the presentations. And then there's an actual just brief program presentation that evening as well. So we'd love to see you. It's on our website. I can certainly send you, Dave, the link to the.
Okay, and we'll share that with everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have a small group here, but they're significant community assets, and I want to give them all a chance to, if they have any questions they want to raise. Terry, Gary, Allison, anything you want to say? Chris? Everybody happy?
Yeah, I want to thank, of course, thank Kim and Kimberly and Marissa for sharing. I actually have a note to follow up with you. There's a program that Gary and Chris and I are working on called the Emerging Entrepreneurs Academy that introduces high school students to what small business ownership and entrepreneurship looks like. And we do invite Opaque to speak. We do invite the Launchbox to speak. But I think there might be an opportunity for Ben Franklin to maybe tap in as well to share what they can do to support somebody who has an idea.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'd be happy to.
Collaboration.
There you go. Yeah.
Thank you.
John, do you have any closing comments?
Need to get off of mute. Well, the main thing I think is that it's pretty clear to me that the next Toyota plant is not going to be located in Berks County. So the entrepreneur small business ecosystem is so very, very important to the economic vitality of our community. So the kinds of work that Ben Franklin is doing to retain jobs in our area and create jobs in our area is, we just can't place enough emphasis on how important that is. And the good news, I guess, is that Berks County especially has, and this region has a long history of entrepreneurship and business creation. And if we can, accelerate that activity, I think it inures to the benefit of the region in terms of job creation, just economic development, et cetera. So this is really great work, and it needs to be continued and emphasized. And you already put a commercial in, Dave, for Elevate Berks, but I think the work there and the collaboration that's happening there is really important, and hopefully we can foster that to continue over time.
Great.
So, and thanks everybody for a great presentation.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. Kimberly and Marissa, thank you. Very great presentation, very enthusiastic and positive things about good stuff that could be happening here. Want to remind people that we're doing a spotlight again next week on what is called the Innovation Corridor of Northeastern Reading. And then in 2 weeks, we have an update on what's happening with passenger train service, which could also have a dramatic impact on our community. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for those. We thank you. Look forward to sharing the video with you and the PowerPoint presentation. And if you have any questions or need any more information, Kim and Marissa can offer that and provide that to you. So thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thanks
you.
everybody. Have a
Thanks,
super
John.
day. Thank you.